I want to show you a new way that I've been using Claude lately to write SEO-optimized blog content. I've been using Claude for more than a year as my primary AI platform, and I was pretty happy with it. But I was still doing a lot of the work manually. I would write a prompt, Claude would give me something decent, and then I would spend another hour fixing it. Fixing the tone, adding the right SEO structure, making it actually sound like me. And then I discovered something called Claude Skills. And I thought, okay, let me try this. And after I set it up properly, it was like the difference between giving directions to a stranger every single day versus hiring someone who already knows exactly how you work. So in this video, I will show you how to build an SEO writing skill from scratch. First, let's talk about what Claude Skill actually is. Because when I first heard about it, I thought it was just another name for a custom prompt. But it's not. A Claude Skill is a specialized set of instructions that you package into a folder. You upload it to Claude just once, and then whenever you start a conversation, you can activate that skill. Claude will follow your specific workflow every single time, without you having to explain anything again. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, but how is that different from project settings on Claude or from custom instructions on Claude? So here's the difference. Custom instructions affect everything, every chat that you have with Claude. You can go to your account settings in Claude and ask it to always provide concise answers or to act as a senior software engineer, and these settings are always on. Projects are like a workspace with a fixed set of documents and instructions inside. So your global instructions exist in Claude account settings, but you can also set project-level instructions for specific tasks, which are separate from your main account-wide instructions. Now, skills are different from both, from custom instructions and from projects. You activate skills when you need them. And the really interesting part is that a skill is not just a text prompt. You can include other files inside the skill folder. Things like a style guide, a CSV file with your website pages, for example, even screenshots of your best results. Claude can reference all of that when it runs the skill. Okay, to build a skill that writes SEO content, you need at least these three things to start. One, a tone of voice document. This is where you describe how you write. Your expressions, your sentence style, the words that you never use also should be here. Now, you don't have to write this from scratch. I will link for you a free template in the description below, and inside that template, there is a Claude prompt that does all the work for you. You just will paste 3 to 5 samples of your existing content, your blog posts, your maybe YouTube scripts, emails, anything that you have written, and Claude will analyze your writing and generate the full document automatically. So it takes you about 2 minutes. And the result is a document that is actually based on how you write, not on some generic description that you filled in. Then you need a mini sitemap. This doesn't have to be your full sitemap. You just need a list of your most important pages, the URL, the title, and a short description of what is on that page. I export this as a CSV file, and Claude uses this to understand which pages to link to internally when it writes the content. And the third document is your experience document. This is where you will add your personal results, your case studies, maybe examples from your work. You can get all your screenshots and put it in a long Google Doc or just save it in a zip folder. And these three things combined with the right prompt make the skill actually work. Now, in the next part, I will show you the actual prompt and how to create the skill. But first, speaking of making your content actually work, I want to talk about something that's very connected to what we're doing here. You can build the most perfect SEO content. You can have Claude write it, cite the right sources, structure it perfectly. But if your website is slow, none of that matters. Google tracks how long visitors stay on your pages. If someone clicks and then leaves in 3 seconds because your page is taking forever to load, that is a signal to Google that your content is not worth ranking. And I learned this the hard way. I had several articles that were doing everything right on paper, but they were not ranking the way that I expected. And when I checked my page speed scores, they were not good at all. That is when I started using WP Rocket. It is the caching and performance plugin that I use on my WordPress blog. And I want to be honest with you, I was a bit skeptical at first because there are a lot of plugins that promise to make your site faster, but they in reality do very little. WP Rocket is different, and here's what it actually does for you. It caches your pages so they load much faster for repeat visitors, and it does something called lazy loading, which means that images only load when someone is actually about to see them. So the first thing that visitors see loads instantly. It minifies your CSS and JavaScript files, which basically means that it cleans up the code so it is lighter. And it also helps you with core web vitals, which are the specific speed metrics that Google uses when it decides how to rank your pages. The setup is really simple. You don't need to be technical to use it. And if you ever get stuck, their support team is really experienced and dedicated. They actually will help you figure things out. It's not just a chatbot sending you a help article. For bloggers who are not developers, that kind of support makes a real difference. So there is a link in the description if you want to try WP Rocket. It's a paid plugin, but it's worth the investment because a slow site doesn't get enough traffic and it doesn't convert well anyway. Okay, so now let's get back to actually building this skill. Now that we have your 3 documents ready, here is how you set this up in Claude. First, you will go to your Customize tab in Claude, click Create New Skill, and you need to be on a paid Claude plan to access this. So you will also see that Claude already has some pre-built skills. One of them is called the Skills Creator skill. So enable this one, and this is the skill that will help you build other skills. Now start a new conversation. See, my prompt is very long, so I will not read the whole thing now, and you can create your own prompt from scratch for this, but I figured it might be easier for you if you don't need to start from scratch. So I'll drop a link to my prompt template and you can just add your website details there to this template. Now, before you hit enter, don't forget to attach all the 3 documents: your tone of voice file, your CSV sitemap, and your experience document. And then you press enter. Claude will take a couple of minutes to work on this, and when it's done, the skill is created, you can just click here to save the skill. Then you can go back to Customize and you will see this new SEO skill created in your account. That's it. Your skill is now ready to use. Now let me show you what happens when you actually start using this skill. You open a new conversation and you call your skill. Just type / and select the SEO skill that you created. Then you describe what you want to write about. And the skill doesn't just start writing immediately. It will first ask you a few questions. Things like, what's the main keyword you're targeting? How long do you want the post to be? What angle or perspective should the content take? And this happens because the skill knows that it needs this information to do the job properly. You taught it that when you set it up. After you answer all these questions, the skill starts doing research. It searches for real, up-to-date information on the topic, and it comes back with a proposed outline. You can see it here. It includes the structure, the sources that it plans to use, and a plan for internal linking based on your sitemap. At this point, you can make changes if you want, and if you see a source that you don't like, you can also say so. If you want a different angle on one of the sections, you can tell it now, and then you confirm, and Claude writes the full post. Let me show you what the output looks like. The first thing I check here is the tone. Doesn't sound like me? In my case, yes, it uses my typical structure, my expressions, my way of explaining things. And it's not because Claude just guessed it. It's because I gave it my tone of voice document. The second thing that I check is the external links. I will check if they're real links. Do they go to the right pages? Because this matters a lot, because some AI tools will literally invent URLs that do not exist. With the skill set up correctly, it cites real sources and links to the right places. And the third thing that I check is the internal links. Is it linking to the right pages on my site? And with the sitemap that I give it, it knows which pages exist and what they are about. So it links naturally to relevant content, which is exactly what you want for SEO. Okay, you might be thinking, Anastasia, but could I do this with a long prompt in a regular Claude conversation, right? You could try, but here's the problem. Every time that you start a new conversation in Claude, it forgets everything. Your tone, your preferences, your sitemap, your style. You would have to paste all of that in every single time. And honestly, a prompt that contains all this information would be very long and messy to manage. And a skill is different because all of that is packaged once. You uploaded it once, and then you just call it when you need it. It's clean, it's repeatable, and it's consistent. Also, with a regular prompt, you're working from memory in Claude, both yours, actually, and Claude's memory. With a skill, Claude is reading actual documents. It knows your real tone of voice, your real sitemap, your real experience. That's why the output, when it's not used from the memory, is more accurate and much more personal. And before you go and build your first skill, here are a few things that I learned that will save you time. You should be specific in your tone of voice document. Don't just say, write conversationally. You should give real examples and show Claude sentences that you like and sentences that you don't like, some phrases. I have a list of phrases that I hate, that I see a lot in AI-generated texts, and I don't want to see them in my scripts. What I did personally when I created my tone of voice document, I just uploaded a Google Doc in Claude with a lot of my YouTube video scripts and a lot of my blog posts that I wrote earlier, and I asked Claude to analyze my texts and describe my tone of voice. Now, for your sitemap, you should focus on quality and not quantity. So you don't need to include every single page of your site. Just add the pages that you actually want Claude to link to. It should be your most important blog posts, your course page if you have, your products, your key resources. And for your experience document, you should use real examples. Real numbers that you achieved, real results, real stories, even short stories. Claude will use this to add credibility to the content that it writes. And then test the skill on a topic that you already know really well. That way, you can easily spot if something is wrong or if the tone is off, and then you can go back and improve your documents before you use it for everything. And if you still have any questions about how to set this up, or if you have already tried it and maybe you want to share what happened, then leave me a comment below. I read all of them and I would love to know how it works for you. Now, if you want to learn more about how I use AI tools in my content strategy, then check the video linked for you up there. I'll see you in that next one.